by welcoming you to our platform. We've seen Out of Love, the trailer, and everyone is curious about what is going to happen in the second season. So, could you give us a little gist of what could take place?
Well, season one ends on a note where Akash leaves town and leaves Mira and her child, and it kind of ends for Mira on a note where she's sort of struggling with understanding what has happened to her and trying to build a new life for herself. Season two starts on a very happy and pleasant note, and where you see Mira and living very happily in this place without Akash, and has found a life for herself, which she's very content with. And then Akash decides to come back, and season two is a psychological warfare between Mira and Akash, where both of them make some pretty erratic and illogical and crazy decisions, which don't turn out well for either them or for people around them. Yeah, Purab.
Yeah, I mean, she said it all. So I think it's just interesting in season two to see this whole. If you remember season one, the whole theme being cheating husband, Mira finding out about a cheating husband. Whereas season two, the theme is revenge, as you may have noticed in the trailer. And the revenge is such a the characters are already set at such an intense sort of level or mark that it brings out lots of things in both of them. And the trailer has highlighted some of it, but once you see the series, there's very interesting twists and turns that each episode takes. Different plot points take, the characters shift and change, and with them the audience moves and gravitates towards either Akash, either Mira, and that's what it's almost like a little match going on between the two. And your loyalties might shift, might not shift. I think the audience is going to have a very, very mixed kind of emotion going on with and not with every episode. It's with even in the midst of each episode that you see the plot swing. So I think it's an interesting roller coaster ride that people are going to be in store for season two.
The trailer looks very intense as compared to the first season. I've also understood that both the directors were different. Did that impact the second season? Did the approach become a little more different to both your characters?
Well,
I
see,
think
it's sorry.
no, go on. Sorry.
The show is based on the original is a show called Dr. Foster, which is made by BBC UK, and so the season two was of the original was also very different. It was far more twisted and dark, and we've kind of followed that. Of course, having different directors changes your experience as an actor significantly. We had two different directors in season one, and we had one director this time, Oni Sen, who has directed the entire show. So of course, different directors change your experience as an actor completely. And I was very happy to be working with somebody as sensitive and as tuned into smaller detailed as Oni is. And I think he helped us both find aspects to our character in this given story. And also I was relieved to find one director directing all episodes, because always the shift is just comes with its own little teething problems when you shift from one director to another. It doesn't always turn out badly. I've done a few shows in which I've had multiple directors, and it's turned out very well. But just that shift takes a little readjustment, and we didn't have to do that this season because we had such a hectic schedule. And I was very happy that we had one director to see us through all 5 episodes.
Pura?
Yeah, it's hard to be the second one speaking because most of it is said already. Like, okay, how do I find things that have not been said? But yeah, I mean, with every show, a new director brings in new things. A good thing with I feel that for me, even if it's a sequel, in the case of Out of Love, I'm quite I leave the first season behind, so for me, it's a new project, a new approach, any which ways, even if it was Tishu or Ejaz directing it. But I completely agree with Rasika on having two directors do one series, and also the directors at the stature of Tishu as well as Ejaz. Because normally I've worked on shows where there are multiple directors, but there's one director who's normally the showrunner, and that director sort of guides the lines of the show. Um, in Out of Love season one, we had two directors who had their own sort of little visions for the show also, and it worked for the series in many ways, because if you see the first show, Tishu did the first and second episode, and then Ejaz did the third, fourth, fifth episode, and the writing and the pace of the entire series and the original series also changes in the third episode. So I think it was nicely used to shift and move into a completely different person overlooking the next three episodes, and a different person doing the first two episodes, and that was the pace of the original show also. But as actors working, it was tough for, as Rasika says, it was tough for us to change gears completely, and work in a different setup completely. And that took some adjustment. But once it was there, it was there. But here with Oni, it was a joy to have him as the only director on, and he's great. And at least for me, for in Akash's character, I think a lot of a lot of I mean, once people see the show, they might feel the same as I do, that Akash's character has a lot more layers and has got a very interesting graph in season two, from where to where he goes, and what the character does and how he twists and turns. So I think that started from I mean, the first time I met Oni, the first thing he said to me was, um, I feel like that's what a work needs to come in, and that's what I'm working on with the writers to give Akash that graph. And I just wanted to let you know. And I said that's what I felt was missing for me as an actor. I'm in the first season. I felt like the character was great, but it was just one sort of layer to him, and I was looking for more of that. And I think it's been delivered. It's come here in the second season. So it's hard, to when you're working on an adaptation and a successful adaptation. So it's hard for writers, it's hard for directors to sort of, a try and match up to that, b is bring something of their own, c take in the context of the audience that's going to watch this adaptation. It's an Indian audience. Like, one very interesting thing that shifts in the first season of from Dr. Foster to Out of Love is that Soni Razdan's character, who plays my mother, in the original series, she's in an old age home, the character. And in our show, because given in a larger context, though we do have old age homes in India, but I think in a larger context, and especially audiences you're looking at tapping, would not accept that the character to be living in an old age home. So they shifted that character into the house. Now it's easy to say it's just one small thing that we did. We shifted the character into the house. Not me, but of course the writers of the show and the creative people on the show. But how does that impact the other characters who are doing now scenes in that house? Even if we are in another room, and Mira and Akash are having an argument, or Abhi and Mira having a meal and talking about something, knowing that the mother's in the other room or the mother's in the house. I think all of that comes into context also. And that was something that they looked at even, so there's a lot of work that goes on into writing and making a show. There's a lot of work that goes on, um, uh, even when a director comes in and conceptualize it. Now, I may sound like I'm going all around, but I'm coming back to the point, which is the director of course guides a lot of that when he's coming in, and he's works with the creative team from the channel, from BBC Studios, who's also the owners of the original series, and are trying to adapt it to the Indian context. So there's the director in some way is captaining the ship. So coming in fresh with a new one is a fresh mindset. I think it helps also, for you not to come in with the as an actor also to come in and step into new shoes, into new comings of the show really.
So,
And Oni was great. I mean, I really enjoyed working with him, as I did with Tishu and with Ejaz.
uh, this whole thing, the second season, is still, shot during when everything was normal and everything was, the whole COVID pandemic wasn't there. Do you think that Mira and Akash, if they would have stuck together during the lockdown, would they have survived?
I
I think,
shudder to think what would happen in a house where Mira and Akash were stuck
but they would
together.
survive. I think they would survive. I think somewhere deep down there is a great attraction and love between Mira and Akash, and I think a lot of the hatred stems from there. The disappointments and the angst and the revenge and the wanting to seek revenge. I think there's a deep bond between Mira and Akash. I've always felt and looked at it like that, where it's not. They're a couple that have spent. I mean, they were college lovers, so they've spent a lot of their life together. And bad things have happened, bad things have been said and done, but somewhere deep down, it stemmed from also the disappointment of this, God knows what, 17, 15, 20-year relationship breaking down. It's a lot of baggage to let go of so easily. Can't let go of it so easily.
Um, I've always felt, I mean, at least in season two, I felt that Meera had moved on even from that feeling,
Mm.
of even wanting to entertain the idea that this could still be. But she finds herself, like you said, Purav, like I think she finds herself at several moments surprising herself because she doesn't want this relationship at all, but yet there is a draw to it because of a history, because of having shared a life together. But I don't think any conscious sort of acceptance of it at all.
I'm going to
That's
shift a
why. That's
little.
why I think they would survive because, of
Yeah.
course, with lots less hair, maybe grayer hair, and some scars and some stab wounds on Akash's.
I can imagine a little blood. A lot of OTT rules have come into play, and going forward, we're going to see a different kind of OTT, functioning. The kind of digital content we're used to seeing, we might not get to see that in the coming future. What is your take on that for both of you? Since both of you have worked on the platform in both like pre OTT rules, and now going forward, we would get to see more of you.
You're asking me basically my opinion on censorship.
Sort of, yes.
Yeah, I don't think any censorship should happen of anything. Not forget OTT, even on television and on film. I think people are old enough to. Of course, there's some really drastic things that you want to keep children away from, and parents are wise enough to make that decision themselves and censor things for their children they want. But I think in general, any kind of art form shouldn't be censored. It should be, society should be able to digest content, and society should be responsible enough to make their own decisions on what they want to watch and what they don't want to watch. I think you are treating an audience like a child if you're telling them what to watch and not what to watch. It's disrespectful, I think, almost. That's my opinion.
I think that the rules as they exist today are not enough to really curb any sort of freedom. So I don't think we are in danger of that. If we are in danger of self censorship because of the environment around us and what has been happening in the last few months, then yes, that is something which is worrying. But as the guidelines, so to say, are exist today, I don't think that they are in any way very harsh currently as they exist currently. But having said that, I think creative processes are great because they know how to subvert rules, and there is a special joy in doing that as well. So I think that's a positive way of looking at it if it had to happen. But otherwise, I completely agree with Purab that I don't. I think that this was finally a space which is free of a lot of um, uh, from a lot of things, and I hope that it remains like this.
All right. Thank you so much, Pura. Thank you so much, Rasika. It was lovely talking to
Thank you,
you
Disha.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank
you.
All right,
you.
see you.
Talking to
Bye.
you.
Bye.